The Silent Hill 2 remake is on the horizon, and amidst all the controversy and scrutiny this title has received over the years, we have 3 big updates that hint the game may be finally releasing real soon. Tell you what, I can't think of a game in recent memory that has been in the midst of so much drama and finger pointing than the likes of Silent Hill 2 Remake. With developer Bloober Team at heads with Konami in seemingly every aspect of the game's development and marketing. But amidst all this drama and thick fog that has, rather appropriately, been concealing this game, we've got solid evidence that this anticipated remake of one of the most important horror games of our time is going to soon get a release date. Over in South Korea, we got a rating from their rating board, and while this is merely just a simple content rating, this indicates that the game may very well be nearing release. Courtesy of the Game Rating and Administration Committee, or GRAC, South Korea's Video Game Content Rating Board gave it the classification that it will receive the US equivalent of a mature rating. Thanks to Gematsu on Twitter for their work in translating the rating, we have a closer look at the many reasons this game is definitely not intended for the world's youth. The following 4 bullet points from South Korea's Game Rating and Administration Committee for Silent Hill 2 Remake are as follows. Excessive violence. Excessive gore from striking and being struck, and depictions of dismemberment, including creatures being torn apart. Excessive expressions of disgust and horror. Finally, expressions of disgust, such as creatures with bizarrely configured limbs, and expressions of fear, such as eerie backgrounds and bizarre sounds. So, all these descriptions for the game will come as absolutely no surprise for those who have played the original, as the Silent Hill series in general contains a lot of violence and deformed enemies while dealing with themes such as despair and succumbing to madness. This is a small tangent regarding the game's content, but while the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB, has expanded its classifications and content descriptions over the last 2 decades since the original Silent Hill 2 released on the PS2 back in 2001, without getting into spoilers for the game, we are likely to see this remake contain descriptions like mild or strong language, drug use, and partial nudity here in this remake. Just like the original ESRB classification for the original game, the South Korean rating board only mentioned the violence and gore with the expressions of disgust and horror, so that's just an observation on my part. Tangent aside, this software rating listing is promising news for those who are eager to know when this game will launch, as we typically see ratings published for games a few months ahead of the game's release. This leads to the next big piece of news for Silent Hill 2 Remake, a potential release date from a retailer. This lead comes from Will of Horror Game Central on Twitter, where he posted this sighting of the game appearing on Mexican retailer sanborns.com.mx. We can see here that the game is slated for release on May 30th of this year, but of course, this could very likely be a placeholder date with little to no validity. But it's just fascinating to see yet another retailer claim the game would be released sometime this spring. As expected, the release date was comically removed from the website just moments after it was published, adding yet another retailer to a decently long list of retailers that did the very same thing last year. We went over a few other retailers that put up release dates for Silent Hill 2 Remake in a previous video I did, of which I will link in the description, but this is a sign, along with the Korean rating of the game, that Silent Hill 2 Remake may be a lot closer to release than we may be thinking. Just last month, from Sony's recent State of Play that showcased Silent Hill 2's combat trailer, the president of Bloober Team acknowledged that while the trailer did not, quote, reflect the spirit of the game, unquote, while also stating that Konami was entirely to blame for the game's marketing, that he was confident that players, once they got their hands on the game, would have a totally different opinion of the new combat and gameplay perspective being implemented in the Silent Hill 2 remake. I mentioned this trailer here for an important reason, as Konami would actually go on to address the game's state from a developmental standpoint just after the combat trailer was dropped. In speaking with Famitsu, Konami producer Motoi Okamoto stated candidly that the game was in the final stretch of development. "We are at the final stage of development," said Okamoto. "Unfortunately, there is little I can tell you at this point. As a game, you can imagine Silent Hill 2 is the same as everyone imagines, and is easy to play in modern times, and can be enjoyed with beautiful visuals that look like a direct form of memory correction." Final stage of development, huh? A new software rating, a new retailer listing, and oh, we've got some new activity on Steam. That's right. Over on Steam, the Silent Hill 2 Remake was updated on SteamDB for new achievement languages. Thanks to Twitter user Sano Retro to Hero, we have confirmation that Steam has updated the achievement language placeholders for the Silent Hill 2 Remake. And while this obviously doesn't amount to anything significant at first glance, it is clear that this activity indicates that work to properly set up the game for the PC release is underway. Since this will be releasing for both the PS5 and PC at launch, this is yet another bullet in the chamber for a suggested late spring release for the game. There is just a massive, thick, suffocating fog that has enveloped this game ever since we got word of it back when it was announced in 2022, and the fact that we have heard such little about a game that is likely to release in a handful of months definitely leaves, quite the confident impression. Don't get me wrong, I may be in the minority here, but I like the way the combat looks in this game, and while I understand the marketing for the combat didn't accurately convey what Silent Hill 2 is about, I remain cautiously optimistic that the game will turn out well for my liking. It's clear that this game is going to go down the route that the recent Resident Evil remakes have gone, by removing the tank controls and fixed camera angles and providing an experience more like a third-person game with over-the-shoulder gun and melee combat. And I'm 100% cool with that, but I know that there are fans out there that would rather the game just be a total graphical overhaul while literally doing nothing to the gameplay. Konami producer Motoi Okamoto, in the same interview with Famitsu last month, backs up Bloober Team's statements about, quote, playing it safe when developing the game. As Motoi remarks, "We remain faithful to the original title. Nonetheless, we are applying adjustments to certain areas where things need modernizing due to the passage of time. These modernizations are immediately apparent with the new graphics made in Unreal Engine 5, along with a shift in gameplay perspective and combat. Let's just hope that this game, when it ultimately does release, can provide both new and old players of Silent Hill 2 a great experience, as the original game really is such a unique and exceptionally executed horror game that deserves to get in the hands of more players." From a recent rating board filing, another retailer with a release date being spotted, and with activity on Steam for Silent Hill 2 Remake, all indications are hinting at a release of this anticipated remake within the next couple months. This is very much an active story, and one that we are likely to hear more concrete updates concerning the game's release date and other aspects very soon. So stay tuned to this channel, as I intend to give you all an updated look into everything going on with Silent Hill 2 Remake, whether or not that information ever surfaces. With all that out in the open, do you think we are going to see Silent Hill 2 Remake release soon? What are your thoughts on the game? Go ahead and check out this video of the intense relationship between Bloober Team and Konami that gives you all a good idea of this game's rough history. And I look forward to seeing all you good people real soon in the next one.